You're listening to the Mind Podcast.
Hi there. Today we're joined by a wonderful couple who opens up about their struggles with mental health, parenting, and risking it all to find love. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Do you guys want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. So I'm Jamie Otis Hayner.
And I'm Doug.
Hayner.
Hey, Doug.
Hey. Yes, and we were on the very first season of Married at First Sight. So we were the guinea pigs of the show, and one of the reasons for the success that the show has had. We
Way
take
to pat
full
yourself on the back.
credit for that. No, but it's been a wild journey. A little over 6 years ago, and we've been married. We've gone through a couple seasons, and now we have 2 kids and trying to figure that out. So that's where
Yeah, they need a manual to come with.
yeah.
I gotta say, this is obviously not an ad or anything, but like I recently started following this account called Big Little Feelings as far as like parenting and whatnot. And I feel like they give you a manual for just the toddler stage. But I have a
That's the
toddler.
hardest
So
one.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's the stage I need. Do you guys have kids?
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
got a 4-year-old, and then our other son, he's 16 months old. So they're both kind of like at that toddler stage. One's just kind of coming out, and he knows everything, and you can't tell him nothing. And the other one, he's not even really talking yet, but he can communicate. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He screams at the
Oh, they
top
come
of
out of the
lungs.
womb communicating, right?
Yeah.
Right. Which is good, but
Yeah.
for 5 seconds, can I think?
Yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know if you guys both have had struggles with mental health. Obviously, that's what we really wanted to touch base on. So if one of you guys would like to start.
Sure.
discussing-
Yeah. So, mental health has been, well, first and foremost, I feel like there's such a stigma associated with mental health. And I think it's amazing that you guys have created this platform for people to be able to talk about their struggles that they've had with it and to just, I don't know, to kind of come together and feel like they're not alone because there are so many quote unquote flaws that we have, and mental health tends to be the one that you don't really share because there's such a stigma associated with it. I mean, even me myself, I mean, I'm more willing to show up like naked on Instagram than I am to talk about like the kind of like the thoughts that go on in my head that I'm not necessarily like proud of and that I can't seem to control or like, whatever the case may be. And I first was diagnosed with depression and anxiety when I had custody of my younger sisters. And I was in college and I like knew that I was a little anxious, but I didn't like realize the extent of it. And so anyways, I was definitely diagnosed. I don't know. I think I was like 19 or 20 years old when I had custody of them. And so it was a long time ago. And I remember that when I took medicine for the first time, I mean, she gave me, I don't know, Prozac or Zoloft or something like that. And I took it and I remember feeling happy for no good reason. And it scared the bejesus out of me. Like I was like, I think something's wrong with me. I have no reason to be happy. And I stopped taking it because I was so terrified of this happiness that I had never really felt for no good reason. And looking back now, it makes me like almost like cry for that little girl because it's like, are you kidding me? Like you had now that I feel so far removed from my younger self because I no longer struggle with like finances and things of that nature and like my mom, like needing her and things like that. So, anyway, so it's been a very tumultuous roller coaster of a ride for me because I went off it and then I got really depressed again and so anxious. And so then the doctor recommended it. And the reason that I went off it was it was such an uncomfortable feeling to feel happy for no reason, but also I was scared of the side effects. I went to nursing school, so I'm a nurse and I know that every medication has a slew of side effects.
Mhm.
And I just I'd rather I thought I could do this by myself and I could fight it and all that. Well, newsflash when there's a chemical imbalance, and this is what I say now to anybody who's kind of opposed to taking medication, which I totally understand. I mean, I was there. I always say like, if your heart wasn't functioning right and the doctor told you to take a medication, you don't care what, the side effect is, because you need your heart to function, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
same thing for your brain. Like if your brain isn't functioning right, and it is such an important organ in our body, and it's not functioning the way that it should be, you genuinely need it to function. And so if your doctor recommends a medication, I highly recommend following through with that.
And I think another layer to that though is once you have responsibility outside of yourself, you have to be able to take care of yourself before you could even consider taking care of anything or anybody. I don't care if it's a pet or a fish or whatever. Your mind is, you can go into such a isolated place, and then when you get to that place, which happens a lot with depression, you you stay by yourself. You don't want to tell anybody. You don't necessarily take the first step to talk to somebody through it. And sometimes it is a chemical imbalance, and sometimes you have to take medicine. It's the only way to get out or level yourself or normalize yourself or whatever your normal is. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, but I think, when you have responsibilities other than yourself, it's something that you have to be aware of.
But also, even if you think you have no responsibilities but yourself, like, this is your one body, your one life, your one chance to live. Like, why not live happy, And if you think that, I'm a huge fan of therapy as well. So like, I think there should be no stigma to therapy, to the medication. It should be the same thing as if your heart's not working, you take medication, no one frowns upon that. No one judges you for that. If your brain's not working and you need medication, or physical therapy, or mental therapy, physical therapy, if your legs aren't working, is never frowned upon. But if your brain isn't working and you want to go to therapy, some reason there's a stigma associated with that.
Well, because it's not a physical thing.
Yeah, you can't see it.
It's not something that you can test, really. I don't know if there's a test for any depression other than just a checklist. And a lot of people just don't understand it, or they don't necessarily see the signs, because when you get in front of people, and I do this all the time, and working in sales, I could be depressed. But when I get to work, I could function. I could be that person that's, the sales guy. I could be the person at work that can mingle with coworkers. But then when I get home, I don't want to do anything. It takes me such an effort to get up and out of bed. And this was going, a while ago. And I've been on antidepressants for, 8 years now. And a lot of people see me as a very happy person, and because I can be, and I don't have it as severe as some, which I'm fortunate of, but I do think that there's there's no harm in finding or figuring out more about it, or learning how to recognize it, which is so difficult. And then there's also the flip side, where it's like, do you have a support system that would be honest to tell you that there's something off about it, or there's really not a lot of people. And I think part of the stigma is, how do you say it in a delicate way? How do you tell somebody that they're, in a very easy, non-confrontational way, that, I feel like you're not okay, or I feel like you're not right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's really, really difficult to try to bring that up to somebody. And I think that's part of the whole stigma, is, not discussing. It's one thing not discussing that you're on antidepressants or that you're a depressed person. Nobody talks about how is it, how are you able to tell somebody that they are depressed, or that you think that they're depressed, without it being a personal attack? And I tell this to Jamie sometimes too, where it's like, if I'm depressed, I don't want somebody to come to me and say, let's go run, let's go hike, let's do something
happy.
fun and happy. Like, fuck you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
F you. Like, I'm like, that just puts me in a defensive mode immediately.
Yeah.
So it's a very, you got to tread lightly sometimes.
Right. Or else they'll kind of retreat back into probably back into further depression.
Yeah.
Right.
And
but I don't know if it's like kind of being on drugs or an alcoholic, it's like, is there a depression rock bottom? Like, is there a point in people's lives where they say, I'm going to make a change, or is it the people that are around them that are, making that change? It's kind of a weird spot.
I feel like it's both. I feel like some people do hit rock bottom and just need and like recognize that they need something and they're willing to maybe start therapy or exercise more. Or I mean, it's so hard though when you're depressed, like literally, like I can't get out of bed. Like I don't want to go
Right.
for a run, or
Mm.
like I don't know. And like even therapy, like I mean, I actually just started therapy myself. And the first, like again, I've been on and off it for many, many times. And I've just, I was recently diagnosed with postpartum depression. So like I guess on top of like my mental illness. And so anyways, I our very first meeting, I mean, my hair is just greasy. I'm in my glasses. I have no makeup on. And she was probably like, holy crap, this girl, something's wrong with her. I mean, I was like in my pajamas and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm sure I stunk, but she couldn't smell me. So that was good because it was like a teledoc
okay.
type thing.
Yeah.
But, which is probably why I didn't, like, if I had to leave the house, I would have tried to like tidy myself up a little bit, but I like just didn't have the energy. Like sometimes you just don't. And that's why it's like, don't judge the people who are at the grocery store or wherever with their greasy hair and like makeup down their face and they stink. Like maybe they're really hurting inside,
Judge them
Yeah.
behind their backs. That's
Well,
what you do.
and today, like everything is covered by a filter. So I'm sure 20,
Yes.
30 years ago, people were a lot more open and honest about things. Nowadays, everybody's got a filter on, and all you see on social media is everybody's happy, everybody's in their, perfect world, but you don't actually get to see what's going on in their lives. And just to speak out and say you're having an issue is absurd in today's society because you're supposed to have this picture perfect life like
Right.
everybody
Yeah.
sees on
Mhm.
social media. So I think a lot of it is just systemic, and it has to do with a lot of the social media stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
But there's also an issue with how expensive it is to find help.
Right.
Which I think
Yeah.
a lot of people, they just assume they can't afford getting the help that they need, or if I have to take medication, okay, well that's another expense that I have
Mhm.
on.
That's
And
true.
if I'm a depressed person and I'm not motivated to work, or if I'm not it's like it's tough to get out of that rut without when it's so expensive to find help, or maybe it's just perceived to be expensive. But yeah,
Right.
it's tough.
Right. Right. Well, I, I mean, I work for a county. I work for our county. So I know that we help a lot of people.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. Yeah. No, it's
Mhm.
awesome. But I do think the cost is something that people think about because like you said, you're going to pay for a heart medication, but you might not pay for an antidepressant or
Mhm.
whatever you need.
Well, and just the thought of the fear of having to pay for something, that's just added anxiety, so
Yeah,
making it
right.
all worse.
Right.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, even if whether the insurance companies think that it's elective, I know that there's a lot of insurances out there that'll cover some of that, but I think it needs to become more of a wellness visit, if
right.
that can happen, or if it's not already happening, I don't know, but yeah.
I think some places it does, and different doctors are different. Some
Mhm.
people, some doctors I've had put a lot of emphasis in it, and others, it's almost like they don't think it exists sometimes. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
So you
Yeah.
guys you guys touched back on some responsibilities, that kind of brought on some anxiety. You mentioned that you had custody of your two younger sisters.
Yeah, so when I was 19, all three of my younger siblings came to live with
Okay.
me because my mom had, quite honestly, like it's depression and anxiety and mental illness in general runs in my family. And my mom struggles with bipolar and she also uses drugs. And so like a little background on her is that she's had like a real rough life. I mean, my grandma dropped her off at the neighbor's house who then proceeded to molest her. And like my mom didn't like my grandma just like kind of left her 2 different times when she was a child. So she had like a lot of issues and she chose to be with men who were physically abusive to her. And so like my stepdad would literally, like, I mean, I can tell you some crazy stories with my stepdad and the different ways he tried killing her, which is terrible. But you know, that all like plays a role on your psyche. And my mom just didn't have much of a support system. And so she ended up turning to drugs for her coping mechanism. And inevitably, like, we are kids while she's out on drug binges, and so the house had like no heat, no electricity, there was no food, we were just like running around. And I remember I was 19 and I was like, I'm getting out of here, like I'm done, I don't want to like I wanted to make something of myself and be somebody, or you know, do something. And so I worked as a waitress. I was a freshman in college, but literally like a few weeks later, my mom was like, can you please, so I also started renting this trailer that my grandparents owned. And so I remember my mom just asked if she could like write a note for the kids to get off the school bus at my house, because like the place that we were all living was officially like, they like locked the doors, would not let her get back in it, because they tried evicting her for so many times. And my mom just like wasn't listening. And so, and the kids were there and stuff. So long story short, they came to live with me, and that's kind of how it started, where I developed custody of them. But I guess like something that I think is important to touch base on is the fact that people who have mental illnesses, if you don't have a good coping mechanism, and if you surround yourself with people who also might be struggling as well and don't have good coping mechanisms, that you can find yourself. I mean, this is why we have an opioid crisis. Like, you're looking for a happiness and like, I don't know, like that next like high or something to make you feel good about yourself.
Or forget about everything.
Yes. And so it's so important to find yourself, a community where you really, I mean, this is why I think this podcast is so great, because it really is important to find yourself a community of people who are understanding where you're going from, people who have healthy coping mechanisms, because you don't want to get stuck in that rut. Because, my mom is a great person. She did not mean to become a drug addict and never, and completely abandon her kids. Like, I don't think that that was not her goal, but inevitably that's what happens. And so you have to be careful. That's kind of like a scary thing to say, but it's true. I think it's really important to make sure you do like seek out therapy and help, so that you don't
and just have a good support structure, people that are around you that you can rely on,
right,
that aren't gonna put you in a hard
otherwise
situation.
you might. Exactly. Otherwise, I feel like you might make decisions that you're not proud of. And my mom, I think, would be the first person to say that she's made decisions that she, wasn't very proud of. But, she's trying her best now.
right. Well, you bring up a very interesting point of, nobody really intends to have bad coping skills or mechanisms.
Right.
We just we fall into wherever we're at, and if it works at that moment, it's fine, even though it might not be good in the end.
I also think it's human nature to try to do things on your own, and you might not have all the answers, so you're trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
So when you've got good people around you, you have to be really careful. You got to find the right people, because birds of a feather flock together. If you're in a bad situation and the people around you keep putting you into those situations, you need to spread your wings and find another flock. Because I think, honestly, a lot of times I know several people who are struggling with mental health and drug addiction, but they refuse to pull themselves out of that situation simply by just finding different people to spend your time with. It's incredibly important, I think, to be surrounded by good people.
Yeah.
Do your best, at least.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, misery breeds company.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Misery
just
loves
it.
company. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it when he said it better.
Yeah.
It
Anything with
brings it and it
bleeding,
rips it.
I'm all for it.
Oh man. So other than medication and therapy, what are some coping skills that you guys utilize? Personal, or maybe even some together?
Honestly, and what's so interesting is like, sometimes I feel like depression and anxiety just sneaks up on you, right? And so then you kind of get stuck in a rut and you're not using any coping mechanism. And that's kind of where feel like I've been at myself anyways with this postpartum depression thing. Like, man, it's been really rough for me. And like I said, I only just started therapy last week.
I
And
think it's nice knowing, something that's very special that not everybody has. But I think when you have someone that you feel is just unequivocally never judgmental, never going to judge you for what you say or do or anything. And I was always too prideful to say any of that. I would just try to deal with it on my own. It wasn't until Jamie was able to really just say, well, listen, I don't know why, but I'm just really depressed, and that'll come up. And, it's nice knowing that she feels comfortable enough to say that, because I don't judge. And, it's always nice to even say it, but know that somebody's there if needed, even if it's not like professional help. I think that, that's kind of how we cope.
yeah,
It's just knowing where each other's at all times,
Right.
mentally.
Right. That's huge, because a lot of people don't have that. Even in a lot of marriages, you don't see that. Like the person is very uncomfortable being who they are around their spouse, which blows my mind. But
Not me. No.
Mhm.
I think communication is key in
yeah,
being successful in anything. If you don't know what's going on the other side, how are you supposed to really work things out?
Mhm.
And
yeah,
that's the same with
absolutely.
mental illness. If you're not willing to come forth about some feelings you're having, then there's no real way that it's going to work itself out, and it doesn't
No,
usually
and then
work
you
itself
leave it
out
up
well.
to, yeah, when you leave it up to interpretation, it's, most of the time when people think that you're thinking something, they're wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's actually
absolutely.
something that Doug has taught me a lot, because I think a side effect of depression and anxiety is consistently wondering what other people are thinking about you and feeling like everybody's judging you. And one thing that Doug,
When nobody
yeah,
cares.
when
Nobody
actually
cares.
no one's thinking
No one
about
is
you,
thinking
they're
about
thinking
them.
about themselves. Like
Mhm.
people are so not, I
Yeah.
don't really narcissistic, but like it's just our human nature to like
Yeah.
think about ourselves. And so,
I know she's saying this about me, and I know that they're saying this when we arrive late. It's like nobody cares.
actually,
Nobody-
no one
nobody
even
thinks-
noticed or
yeah.
cares because
No
you're
one
not
thinks
that
it.
important to
You're the
them.
only one thinking that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Um, what kept you guys motivated in your darkest point? I'm curious about that. Not so much, more so before you had kids, because I know everyone
Okay.
says that kids motivate them, obviously.
Yeah.
I think it's not wanting to let the other person down.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what was your darkest point, Doug?
Well, it was you. That's it. Like, it was just not
It was me?
yeah. Like,
What do you mean?
well, no, like like not wanting to disappoint you, and wanting to, like, we both wanted the same goal. We both wanted to be happy together. And
But when was your darkest point? Like,
I don't know. But well, I mean, it was while we were having Henley.
yeah, that was a pretty
Um,
bad.
that was like a dark point, and it was like, it was just disaster after disaster.
Yeah. Well, when we were pregnant with Henley, with our daughter,
Yeah.
Doug lost his job, and I was working like 4 jobs while pregnant, and just it was just a tough. We had just tried buying a house. We had just bought a house, and so it was just terrible timing. And
Right.
obviously, he lost his job, so then he lost insurance, and then we had to try to figure out how to have health insurance while we're trying to make sure we have we're gonna have our baby. And
Yeah.
that was definitely a very low point. So
Sometimes you just need a kick in the ass.
yeah, he
Well,
needed
that
a kick in the butt.
responsibility weighs heavy, man,
Mhm.
for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's wanting a change though too. You got to want to change.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That's
You have
true.
to be in that mindset to where you're primed and you're ready to accept
Mhm.
change.
Yeah, it's
It's hard
true.
work. Changing is
Yeah.
hard work.
Yeah.
People don't.
Oh,
Sorry, you go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I feel like for me, I was just trying to think like, what was my lowest moment in life? Like, I don't really know. And like, what's interesting is obviously I went through an awful lot when I had custody of my siblings and like going to court with my mom to get that custody and all of that. But that really wasn't my lowest point in life. As a matter of fact, I feel like sometimes, I don't know. I feel like I was like I mean, obviously I was very anxious and depressed and like overwhelmed for everything that was going on. But sometimes when you have a very busy life, the busyness kind of really helps, like just like hot, like just like almost like disguise the depression. Like no doubt when it started to get slower again, I remember like I would show up late to nursing school like consistently, and I was assuming that everybody thought that wasn't taking it serious. But obviously I was taking it seriously. I just was so depressed. But I think my darkest point was definitely when we lost our son Jonathan, our first baby. Um and I honestly, I think that the best thing that helped me through it, because I was trying to think of like really like what did really help me, like what could help other people. And I think the first thing that's really helpful is not like to not hold whatever it is that's like making you depressed inside, but to speak about it and to share
Yeah.
about it in some way, shape, or form, whether it's like maybe a Facebook group or I don't know, a book club or whatever, however, like whoever, I don't know, however you hang out with people. And because I would have never shared about what happened with Jonathan if I hadn't we had already announced it on the Today Show. And so the whole world knew we were pregnant. And so I mean, it was taboo to talk about losing a pregnancy. Like no one talks about that, but I had no
Right.
choice but to talk about it. And turns out that helped me tremendously because A, I could like let it off my chest, but B, people would also share their stories of loss and then also their stories of hope of getting pregnant and actually having a successful pregnancy afterwards. And that I cannot even tell you how much that helped me. I mean, people would come to my Instagram and like share their stories. And I mean, it made me feel so much less alone. And in like, when I said they would share about their rainbow babies, which is a pregnancy after loss, I was like, oh my God, it could happen for me too. Because when you're so far in the depths, you think that there is no way out and you're never going to see happiness again. So then when you hear about someone who's been in that depth and they did get out, you're like, wow, actually, maybe there is happiness at the other side. So I think that depending on like what you're down in the dumps about, I don't think it actually even really matters if you can just try to be a little open to maybe not like the extent that I have been, which is like with everybody, but like just with somebody so you can get it off your chest.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I think people really underestimate just talking about it. Just being open, even if you're just open with one person, a friend, your mom, your dad, your grandma.
Or
Sometimes
even like a video diary.
Yeah,
there you
journaling.
go.
So many
just getting it
people,
off your chest.
yeah, so many
Yeah.
people would start, like there's been so many examples of people starting like a vlog, and then just all of a sudden people are picking it up left and right, and then you have this community of people that people want to help, but not everybody wants to reach out for help.
Yeah, but I like the idea of even if you don't want to share it ever, but you don't have, or you feel like you have nobody to share it with,
Share it with yourself.
just either journal or you could, and if you're not into that, you could audio record yourself. You could, I mean, there's a bazillion different ways. Just get it off your chest in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Right. Yeah. No, it's hard to do. Even journaling, just opening up with yourself can be kind of difficult because it's like, do I really want to admit this?
Well, that's what makes it real. That's what brings it to like an actual thing.
Yeah, to where it's not in your head anymore.
Right.
It's in real life now.
Yeah.
So I
Give it a new place to live. That's what I say.
Yeah, that's great.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
love that. Get it
Yeah.
out of your head and give it a new home.
Yeah, give it a new home.
That's cute.
I just made that up. I don't always say that.
You're awesome, Doug.
It sounds great though.
It does sound great.
It does sound fantastic. You should write a book.
Yeah, he should. I've been telling him that. He hasn't been listening.
Hey, why not? You guys already have a great platform. You might as well, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome. Let's see. I know you guys said you needed to cut it short. So, do you guys know how much time you have left or?
Yeah, like maybe 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, I might have to head out a little bit earlier, but yeah.
That's okay. That's perfect.
Mm.
I want to know if just kind of maybe not so much in the mental health topic, but is there any misconceptions about you guys that you might want to debunk for anybody listening?
One moment, we should close that door for their audio, just for you guys, because my daughter is in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not.
No.
I don't know if that will bother your audio or not. But
You have
anyways,
kids. It is what it is.
yeah, it's true. Any myths about us that we want to debunk? Well, can you tell us any myths that are out there, Erica?
I haven't heard any. I mean, I think you guys are pretty well liked for the most part.
Well, I mean, I did have an assumptions thing the other
Yeah.
day, and people have a lot of assumptions about us. So I guess let's see what
You can go off some of those.
Yeah, what was some of the assumptions? Oh, well, some people said, I think you never argue and you never fight. I'm like, I don't know anybody who never argues or never fights. Of course we do.
Sometimes you just need it to spice things up, right?
Right? You just need the
Yeah.
argument so you can kiss and make up. Just kidding. That's very unhealthy.
Yeah.
What else was the assumption, Doug?
That we have a lot of money. That's
Oh
not
yeah,
true.
someone thinks we have a lot of money, and honestly, we're definitely not struggling the way. I mean, I know struggle. I've been there. I
Right.
mean, like I told you earlier, like we were literally being evicted. I had to pull out, like literally, like I would look under the cushions, in throughout my car, looking for spare change to grab like a loaf of bread, and that is literally been my reality. But so like I'm not going to say we don't have money. I mean, we're sitting in our second home in Florida. However, we're not millionaires. Like we work very, very hard for everything that we have. And
I still work. I still have a job.
yeah, but
That was another one.
oh yeah, they were wondering if they thought he didn't have a job. We're both always going to have a
Oh.
job. Like we love to work. I love working. And it's so like, we're not millionaires, but we're definitely living a little bit more comfortably than, well, definitely more so than I ever have in my whole entire life. So, and sometimes I don't necessarily love that. It's something, it's funny when you meet like something different in life, whether it's you have more money or you have less money, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel necessarily, you think that like you want it, right? As far as like having more. But then when you have it, it's just interesting because, it doesn't necessarily feel good per se. Like money really, when they say money doesn't bring happiness, it is very, very true. What, Doug? Why are you laughing at me?
You ever see somebody unhappy on a jet ski?
That doesn't mean you have money if you have a jet ski, but like it does make it easier. Don't get me wrong. But like the fact that I still struggle with depression and I no longer have to worry about like paying my bills per se. Like I know I can pay my bills and buy groceries, which is incredible. Like
I think it's somewhat different for us in a way. Just like in the beginning, you want to put out your lives as something that's like happy all the time, and you look good with the lighting and you look great, and that was something that we really shared everything. So there's not that many things that are out there that people don't know or have seen. Like they've seen us look horrible. They've seen us with depression. They've seen us, at a low point. We put it out there. So it's, there's not much room left for interpretation. With the different avenues we have to reach out with people, which is kind of our own therapy too, in a way.
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're not perfect.
Yeah, that's
Very far from it.
yeah.
Nope. No one's asking you guys to be.
No.
Well,
I
maybe.
mean, I'm a little bit more perfect but
That confidence that helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
that too.
Do you guys feel that being on Married at First Sight took a toll on your mental health at all? Like it had to be hard.
Oh my God. Yeah. Are you kidding me? So when our season aired, people hated me because I wasn't immediately in love with this beautiful soul sitting next to me.
I remember feeling a little bit of that, like, come on now. Doug's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you felt, but times 10, people really hated me because they thought that I was very shallow for even like for many, on many levels. And honestly,
And 6 months later, she's getting upset. And I'm just like, we're together. We're still together. Like, it's
yeah,
like,
but it's the way that I think I handled things. And honestly, looking back now,
you
it's,
want people to love you.
I'm such a people pleaser, and I've always wanted love and acceptance, probably because my mom did abandon me. And so, I did always want love and acceptance. But I also didn't want to be fake for TV, and I didn't want to pretend that I was so in love with this guy because there's cameras rolling. And I wanted to be very honest about how I was feeling, but not even just for me, but for him. Like, I wouldn't want him to, like, I don't know, to, like, later on see that I actually wasn't happy with him. Or I don't know. I always wanted to be very, very honest about the whole thing. And so I was, but that came off looking terrible. Like, I
Well,
looked
I'm
so
sure the
shallow.
producer liked it. I bet
Yeah.
TLC ate it up.
It's a good story.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
so that didn't work. I mean, it worked out, I guess, because we're still together, but it didn't really work out in the sense that, like, man, people really, like, took to Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and they just really, like, did not like me.
Yeah, but now look at you.
Endurance. You got endurance from it. Right?
Well, that's very true. Yeah. But yeah, it's true. Like, I mean, fortunately, I, like, was really lucky because I had a husband like Doug. I'm literally like crying and snotting all over his shoulder. Like, they think I don't love you, and they think this and that. They think I'm shallow, and am I shallow? And like,
Right.
am I a bad person? I don't know.
Focus on 2 out of the 1,000 comments.
No, I'm pretty sure there was like 500 out of 1,000 at that
Yeah,
point.
even
Like,
so, you still got 500 good ones.
that's true, and that's a question of looking at the cup half full or half empty, right?
Right.
Let's
But
have something.
Yeah.
but to answer your question, yeah, it's definitely taken. It's very, very difficult to live in the limelight like that. At least it was in the very beginning, but now it's honestly really not that difficult because we are literally the same person on and off camera, like on and off social media.
Yeah.
So, it's so funny because in the beginning, I really was like someone who I thought that, like, you had to look pretty, all the time and have yourself put together and whatnot. And then slowly I just stopped. I was like, I just can't even keep up with this charade. Like, I can't
Right.
be Kardashian West. Like, I'm just not her. And I don't even know how she can do it. Like, I don't know how anybody.
A lot of help.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly it. And so I think when, like, that is so freeing. And so when you're really truly yourself on camera, off camera, on social media, off social media, so much less stress and so much less anxiety because, like, you like me for who I am or you don't, and that's okay if you don't. Like, you're not for everybody.
Right. Right. Do you feel like it helped you love yourself a little more?
I feel like that's something that, like, I'm still currently, like, working on, is loving myself, like, truly, I feel like self-love is such a journey, right? Like, it's really, like, it's not like one day you flip a switch and you start to, like, you love yourself,
No.
It's really such a journey, and it's one that I'm on myself right now because
It's easier said than done.
yeah, it really is. I
You
feel
gotta make
like
time for it. You gotta make time for it every day. There's gotta be something you do that makes you feel good about being you,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Which is hard to do when you have kids and you have a job and, COVID and the pandemic and whatnot, but it is important. It really is.
Yeah.
It so is. Now, Doug, do you feel like being on the show affected you
Yeah,
mentally?
in a positive way. I never used to share my feelings or talk about it in present time, and the show kind of forced me to speak with experts and forced me to talk about the same thing over and over and over again. So it helped me be a better communicator.
For
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Which is, like he said, so important for marriage. Because where are you at if you can't communicate
Well, in business, I mean,
everything?
I run a convenience store. It's also a restaurant. I do it. My uncle, he owns it all. So when you've got a staff and you're not communicating, you're not going to do very well.
Yeah.
It has to go both ways too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can't just expect me to tell you everything and then not. I need something, some feedback. I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Well,
Right.
do you guys have anything going on in the future you want to let any of us know about, or?
Yeah, well, I am creating a course called Become Body Positive, and I'm really excited about that. That's going to be launching. My goal is in February. Let's hope and pray I can actually make that happen. So February of 2021, because I know podcasts are evergreen. So
Yeah.
maybe someone's listening to this, in 2022.
Yeah.
But then also we are on Married at First Sight Couples Cam, which is,
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier about Erica. It's just a
Mhm.
fun show on Lifetime Network with,
We film ourselves.
yeah, we literally film ourselves. And so that's fun. What else, Doug?
And
Oh, Doug's Doug, your
yeah.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I've started with I wanted to create. I saw Henley kind of watching YouTube and watching the
Mhm.
videos over and over and over again, and I was taking some of the same videos, with her and her playing and everything. So I wanted to create something where she could learn. We can do things together. So I am starting a YouTube channel for kids where it's going to be just family fun, learning, toys, everything.
Yeah.
So
Yay.
starting that soon. So yeah, we're going to launch. I don't have a date yet. We're still kind of working on that, but we're finalizing a lot of the videos that I already shot, and it should be soon.
Yeah.
Can't wait. We got 2 kids, so they'll I'm sure they'll
Yeah,
enjoy
they'll
it.
love it.
Yeah,
They'll
something.
love it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Well,
awesome.
let us know when you guys do all that, because I'm going to have a post up on our Instagram, and I'll make sure to add those things in over time.
Okay,
Awesome.
cool.
So,
Thanks. Appreciate that.
yeah, spread the word. The whole point is to help people be successful,
Yeah.
Spread positivity. That's
Yeah.
all I want.
Yeah.
Spread the
Especially
good
with,
stuff.
holy moly, we need more of it, right?
Yes, it's hard, but we'll get through it. You always
That's it.
do. You always
That's
find
it.
some way to fight.
It
That's
all
it.
works out.
It always works out in the end.
Right.
Uh,
Well,
Yeah.
thank you guys
It's
for
great
coming
having you
on. We
guys.
appreciate it.
You guys are awesome.
Yes.
Can't wait to see what comes out in the future with you guys, and hopefully maybe down the road we can have you back on and kind of see how things are going with you guys.
Yeah, it's a follow
I'd
up.
love.
just
Yeah,
let
we
us
had a
know.
great time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
having us on.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great meeting you guys.
And you guys
You
are
too.
killing it. Shut up
Thank you.
profesh.
Oh, thank you. Have a wonderful day, guys.
All right, you too.
Thanks.
Bye,
Good
guys.
luck. Bye. Thanks for listening today. Please go show Jamie and Doug some love on their Instagram and their podcast. And check out our Instagram for other guest episodes and more.